There are obviously no other Italians here.
Energy Committee. We have guests here, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. I'd just like to say, I'm going to miss Energy Committee so much. Oh, Anne Marie Gavin, hello, how are you? Here you go, right here. And we're just about to introduce guests, so you came at a very timely point. We have all different kinds of pizza and we have Diet Pepsi, so help yourself, Maria. Hey, Marie. These if anybody needs an extra agenda. Anyway,
Thank you.
it will be weird not coming to Energy Committee on Tuesday afternoons. But there is a rule about appointments. That if you appoint, if you're on the body, which would be
Stuff together, I'll just pass it
that
out.
appoints people to the town committee, you can't be one of the group that you appoint. And the way to square that, you want to play?
No, I'm going out to dinner, that's
All
all.
right. Good, I didn't make this. It's perfectly fine.
I was looking to see where.
The way that you can ask for an exception to that is to make a motion and get a supermajority, 4/5 board is selected to vote that you can stay in whatever committee you are. I explored that, but we have a very capable vice chair who will make a calm chair heading into the future. So I feel like I'm leaving you in good hands. I just leave you with two pieces of advice. Pay attention to what Mike says and never mention Solarize Yarmouth, and you will all live happily ever after. Okay, let's introduce, starting at the end down there, let's introduce our guests and members of the public.
Pat Duffy, wife of Mike Duffy.
And you listen. I'm Dave Witter,
And
gotten to know Joyce through the Solar Wolf article. It's still going on, unfortunately.
Dave, with that program that we're not mentioning, Dave has taken that all the way through the home improvement contractor guarantee process, and he is who got the residential trust thing changed with a nifty argument that involved discrimination against senior citizens who had put their homes in trust when no homes in trust was from another era when those were commercial real estate trusts. So even though people don't know it, everyone in the program we're not mentioning whose home is in trust owes you a big vote of thanks.
It just didn't seem right, I mean, senior citizens generally put their homes in some kind of relationship for after they pass, and the way they had it worded there, it was like, can't even participate. Okay, and I get that, okay, maybe because of the way they had the guidelines set up for the fund, that it made a little bit of sense, because I didn't want somebody like Davenport, anytime they had a problem or whatever, applying for one of their contractors and collecting on it. By the same token, okay, it also ruled out any senior citizen that ever needed work done on their house, they would never be able to apply for it, no matter what it was, whether it was solar or siding or, somebody put a room on their house and it went bad. And I says, no, I says, I'll mention this right off the rip, that'll get their attention. And if I didn't get proper response, I was gonna go to AARP and let them fight it out, but cooler head prevailed, as they say, and it went through.
At where?
Did I mention he
Where
has a
were the cooler
spouse?
heads?
Yes.
Apparently whoever drafted the original guidelines there decided that, was CABR or whatever, that it did not make sense to penalize seniors.
That was at the state level though.
Yeah,
Okay, so Dave, are all grateful to you. We're delighted that you're here. Next to you is Anne-Marie Gavin, long beloved to us. You remember Steve Gavin, co-chair for all those years. Anne-Marie comes to us through Steve, but is also very interested in energy and green energy herself. And it's a treat to have her here.
Now you brought tears to my eyes.
I would like to say
And it's
that
been 3 years.
Steve,
3 years.
Steve was one of the greats of this committee.
Yes.
Well, anyway, he spoke so highly of Joyce, and so I was happy to be somewhat involved in her election and now, and I can't stay for the swearing in, so I just thought I'd come here for a bit.
Thank you very much.
So,
And for anyone at this table who may have voted for me, I promise I will do my best not to disgrace you. And you have my email if I start to, so, yeah. Okay, well, listen, we have some past minutes, but we don't have the ones for May,
We
right?
don't have any.
We have one for April.
We-
Yeah.
I haven't worked on them, so they're so
Mike, this goes to you for July, April and May minutes, presumably by then with June. Members of the Secretariat, I know you've been out of town and things have been busy, but please promise me that you'll get like all
Oh,
the
yes.
minutes to Mike.
my son is installing a new computer tomorrow, so.
And I'll be in touch. I will
It's
follow up.
gonna, I currently use a 15-year-old
Transmitting.
Toshiba laptop, which is on its last legs, and this afternoon, he put all my files onto a thumb drive, and tomorrow he's gonna throw the old Toshiba out, and
You'll stop at the beginning.
yes,
I have some of the minutes, but I'm not sure what the last.
Yeah. The,
I will follow up with.
Okay,
Bobby, because that
and
was
since
my
we're a
job.
bit tight on time because the town clerk, because of an executive session, kept moving the swearing in up and up. So now it's at 5:30. So here we are. And that's, by the way, why we're missing Camilla, because she works till 5 and we usually zoom in, but we really had to start earlier because of partly this is a must go to this swearing. So, well, moving down our agenda then, we're postponing the past minutes and that will be a big splash in July. Amanda, how about some town energy news? For those of you who are new, I should probably explain, Amanda's our town engineer. So she's the person, who's the go-to person on EV chargers and what's being planned for installations. And, we're really lucky to have her.
Thanks. So just following up from last month, we had talked about the meeting and the little get together at the senior center. Sorry, I couldn't make it. Had a family matter that popped up. How did that go?
nobody came.
It was only down as office hours, so on the senior.
Yeah, I mean, and it was supposed to be an event. The senior center is not the senior center of old. I went back today also and had a rather strange experience. I had one of their gourmet lunches and
They have 2-tier lunches?
no,
thinking
gourmet or
gourmet?
nothing at the senior center. Made by some commercial catering company that works for Elder Services and does the Meals on Wheels. It was basically Meals on Wheels. But I did become a member of the a conversation group, and I am going to be talking about energy next week at this conversation group. And I'm gonna try to get things going at the senior center on energy. But one of the things I think has happened is that seniors are just tired of talking about energy. They're not interested because most of the things we are proposing are 20-year things, and
Are they eating their vegetables?
yes, they ate their vegetables. The 12 that I ate was today, all ate their, no, the fellow across from me didn't eat his vegetables. But the others did. Nice vegetables. Anyway, I just think that this may be, we have a lot of golden oldies in this town. I'm not sure that this is an avenue we should necessarily put our efforts into.
For the last 5 years or so, then interrupted by the pandemic, Bob was holding weekly office hours about energy with people. They could bring in their electric bills, they could bring in their.
Yeah, it was mostly electric bills or Solar City customers.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. One poor woman, her husband had signed them up for Solar City. They had the stuff on the roof. And then, of course, it got bought out by Tesla and he died and she didn't know what to do. And we went on for months. And she couldn't get anything out of Tesla. This was all before the pandemic. And I have no idea. We sort of got interrupted by the pandemic, and so I don't know exactly what happened to her.
So Bob, if you could be thinking, like as our liaison to seniors, if you could be thinking of a better venue to track and mix with the seniors that have more in common with Energy Committee and might be more interested in doing things. And it just seems like they're out there.
Yeah.
And certainly that we're not mentioning, indicated there were quite a few people who were willing to think long-term about energy, but I don't know that you would have bumped into them with the office hours over there.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, we obviously need new members. How we get people Amanda's age interested in working on a committee instead of people my age or working together, I guess. Do we go back to Regina and start there at the high school? Find teachers who live in Yarmouth that might be interested. You know, I had those two functions I did at the middle school a couple months ago. I attended that Regina had organized, well, one Regina organized. This new middle school, intermediate school thing is difficult to wrap your hands around. There are two schools in one building and it's all crazy.
And yet the 8-year-olds figure it out.
Yes, exactly. In any case, start, you know, maybe go to the young professionals organizations, something like that. Go over to the Chamber of Commerce and see if there are any business people that might get an interest. I personally think the committee as a whole, our objective of working on the whole panorama of electric vehicles is a good one, but we have to contend with our own ZBA on that one. The St. David's Episcopal Church got their request for a solar canopy on their parking lot shot down by the ZBA last week.
Who's the ZBA?
Zoning Board of Appeals, that they've contracted with one of these companies that does these solar canopies as a business. And the acting chairman called this a proposed industrial site. that the solar canopies would be manufacturing electricity, which would be sold to customers and was not allowed in a residential area. Very.
Surely exceptions are sometimes made for industrial religious sites. That's too bad.
Oh, yeah, I got a long talk with.
Can you appeal those decisions to the board?
Well, I mean, I afterwards, I had a long talk with,
I'll follow up.
with the, I guess she's the rector,
Mhm.
Andrea Taylor, and she was very down. You know, St. David's has been very active. And she was really down on that and thought that they were probably going to just give up the
So
the
were
ghost on
they,
it.
were they treating it like a commercial property? As far as
No, the church apparently is in a residential area.
Yes, but I mean, they were saying that because they were able to sell,
They would be able to export.
okay, so that became a commercial.
Yes, for this company, that it's a PPA basically for the church.
Yeah,
And so they were, you know, this company was going to be establishing an industry on the property.
Right.
The solar canopies would be
because they were,
manufacturing site.
the company that's selling this product is taking a little bit of the
Oh, yeah.
profit from,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
And they resell, there's enough of it, so they would be reselling a lot of it to
Eversource.
Eversource, so getting off takers, you know, in the community solar fashion where they sell shares in a particular project to people,
Mhm.
you know.
How is that different than somebody that puts solar on their roof and sells it back? to-
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next.
Well, that's where I was
Exactly
going
what
with
I
it too.
thought
I mean,
about.
The only way, if they're designating that as a commercial area, then maybe they'd have to get an exception or whatever. Waiver, but
Said it's a residential.
Yeah, well, it's residential, it's,
There's a gas station,
It's-
there's a
it's-
shoemaker.
yeah, but I mean, the church itself is apparently part of
It's
its
next to
land
tennis
is residential and part of it's commercial and it's a historic district as well. I mean, it's just complicated beyond words.
Okay, so to be continued, I think that's one that is worth following up on because we might be of some help to them.
Yeah, that's
But
what,
in the meantime, I'm not sure that Amanda got to
No,
say what she was about to say on town energy.
well, you could always to be continued, because the solar is not up yet at the senior center. There was some.
So
conflict.
Bob's event could still happen.
Still happen, yeah, they're not projecting now until the end of summer. They had to do some panel work to adhere to the electrical inspector. And they're waiting for the battery associated with it, and so, yeah, they're hoping the rest of the equipment will be in at the end of the.
so it's a fall inauguration then?
Yeah, you could.
And I don't think the battery at 3 Y is working either. They put a tremendous amount of money on that, but I think it's a problem with the transfer switch.
Yeah.
Because it was an older transfer switch and the new transfer switch is, or the switch they can't get. So I think they have all of that equipment out there and I don't think it's functional.
They, yeah, they mentioned
Hmm.
some of the. Eversource
All
using
the
some
money
stuff.
see that put into that.
So let's just do one more item on the agenda before we have Maggie's presentation. And that's the George Allaire Memorial Fund. We created that, gosh, ages ago after George's sudden death. And George, for those of you who didn't know him, and few people at this table did, because it's been now some years since his death, was the most amazing Department of Public Works person ever. And he was pro-wind, pro-energy, and proactive, and he got so much stuff done. It was great.
Yeah, I think he was probably the progenitor of this committee.
Yes,
As
yes.
well, and.
That's why we have that shrine, yeah.
Cape Light Compact, perhaps, that was involved in the creation of Cape Light Compact.
Nope, he wasn't, but
No, he wasn't on the board.
No, but I mean, maybe it was before he came here, but,
No, with Charlotte.
Charlotte
Yeah.
Strubel, remember?
Yeah, she was the first chairman of this committee, I think.
Yeah.
Are there funds available somewhere to support this
Well,
memorial?
that's the thing. We're down to 230 some dollars. And there aren't the summer programs that there used to be. The idea was that if this was for a 1 week summer program for a kid in the Yarmouth schools. So what I'd like to suggest is that we take that money, it's held by the school department. And that we donate that to their general scholarship fund. Because it's not quite enough to do much on its own, but that way it would still help a Yarmouth kid.
Where did that funds come from?
Mostly
Oh,
members
yeah.
of the committee.
Committees?
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
all private contribution for people who do them, yeah. So no taxpayer funds or any such. So can I have a motion to that effect? Because I really think, we've talked about this before, and I think that's our best solution.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
donate to the general fund scholarship for Georgia Lee.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, looks unanimous. Okay, now let me introduce our guest speaker. Perhaps it's starting to wonder, are we just pizza hangout people? Or are we serious? Maggie Downey, I'm aware Anne
I'm
Marie
gonna
has to
leave so I don't leave in the middle,
Oh, no
Maggie. but
worries, no
of
worries,
course,
Anne
I remember your name
Yeah,
well
good to see
too.
you.
Enjoy your dinner.
As soon as you get back from dinner, we'll call you up and tell you all about this. Maggie is the longtime administrator of the Cape Light Compact, which started as the dream of a couple of people in Barnstable County government, Charlotte Strubel here in Yarmouth, and I think somebody from Barnstable Town government, right?
No, but no, it was Barnstable County Commissioners, Matt Patrick from Falmouth,
Oh, okay.
got Ridley from Harwich.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Audrey Lockney, been gone for a long time, was our first board member from the town of Barnstable. And it was really a Falmouth and Barnstable County Commissioners pulling all of the towns together to work on energy.
And the occasion of this founding of this, which is 21 towns, 6 from the Vineyard and 15 on the Cape, was the decoupling of electric supply from electric distribution. And some very smart people in local and regional government saw a real opportunity to reduce the electricity costs on the Cape. And as it turns out, do in subsequent years, many more amazing things by running energy efficiency programs. So anyway, that's Maggie. And you should just hear from her and not hear from me anymore about her, and you'll see how good she is.
Great, thank you. And I did realize I made copies of the presentation and I left my notes in there. So hopefully if the notes are in the slides, we'll just skip through them. So if you want to, so I start with this because the Cape Light Compact's been around for a long time. Yet there never ceases to amaze me that there are people who like, what is the Cape Light Compact? Who is the Cape Light Compact? I always start by saying the Cape Light Compact is the town of Yarmouth. The town of Yarmouth is a member. We're a joint powers entity. We were formed originally by an intergovernmental agreement by all 21 towns back in the late 90s. And then we reorganized when Governor Baker passed a 2016 Municipal Modernization Act. And all of that, so we were formed with a vote of a town meeting in every town except for Barnstable, because they're a town council government. And every town has a representative that represents the Board of Selectmen or town council, their appointing authority on our board. We have 3 primary functions that are listed up there. One is we negotiate the terms and conditions of a power supply contract. As Joyce was saying, back in 1997, the Restructuring Act deregulated the electric utility industry in the Commonwealth and created municipal aggregators because there was the belief that large entities would be able to aggregate their electric accounts and their load and get good rates, but individual citizens would have a harder time and would be challenged by negotiating a contract and could be taken advantage of in the marketplace. So they allowed our cities and towns with a vote, as I said, by town meeting or town council to become municipal aggregators. For many, many, many years, it was only the 21 towns on the Cape that were aggregators. Now there are more than half of our cities and towns in Massachusetts are municipal aggregators and negotiate the terms and conditions of a power supply contract. Our power supply contract is, we switched and we've had several suppliers over the years. And in 2018, our last RFP, we negotiated a contract with NextEra Energy. That's who provides our supply. And it is 100% renewable. I say 100% renewable. We have 3 different levels of power supply. These are 100% renewable, meaning all of our load is matched with renewable energy certificates. They are not class 1. For those of you who are really familiar with renewable energy, they are from WinRex from central United States. We do have 2 local green options, which are RPS class 1 RECs that support our local renewable energy projects. Our pride and joy, and really, if you want to go way, way back, even before the Restructuring Act, why the compact was formed, it's all about energy efficiency. We've been paying into an energy efficiency fund here in Massachusetts for almost 40 years. There was a system benefits charge and it has evolved over time, but there was always a very strong desire to make sure that the monies that were collected, paid for by ratepayers on the Cape and Vineyard were reinvested on the Cape and Vineyards. Prior to that, if you remember going way back, before it was Cape and Vineyard Electric, then it became NSTAR, then it became Eversource, and all of these companies merged, and our dollars were going over the bridge into a larger pool. And there was a great movement among some very forward-thinking elected officials to try to make sure that those funds were staying local and the programs were delivered and administered locally. We also do consumer advocacy, which basically means we intervene at the Department of Public Utilities on lots of energy-related dockets. I did have some late-breaking great news I'll share with all of you, though I haven't read it yet. DPU just issued an order on Eversource's Cape CIP, which is the capital improvement plan, which is why we're not able to pursue any renewable energy projects that were larger than 15 kW without significant costs. So their Cape CIP just got approved. That will make a huge difference for the cable going to the vineyard projects and a lot of renewable projects that have been on hold here on Cape Cod. Several of our towns have been stuck trying to put solar or large solar arrays on their schools, rooftops that are over 15 kW and have been denied because of the cost. Basically, prior to the CIP, capital improvement plan, if you wanted to do that project, you would have to pay for 100% of an infrastructure upgrade, which was unrealistic because you were paying for grid improvement, capital improvements from the utility just for your project. So that's late breaking news. We intervened in that docket and advocated very strongly for the department to approve the CIP so that we could achieve our climate goals here on the Cape and Vineyard. Want to go to the next slide? So I just popped in our 2 slides on power supply rates.
Free.
Oh,
And
thank you. Oh, thanks.
there's a piece of margarita left and the 2.
So our rates change, their rates, the timing on the rates mirror Eversource basic service rates. These are the current rates. They'll be expiring on our July meter reads. You can see at the very bottom, our rate is our basic standard rate, which is I talked about earlier, 100% renewable is 15.5 cents. Eversource's rate is 17.2 cents.
Now, Eversource has announced, I think unofficially, July rates.
Yep, that's my next slide, Bob.
Oh.
So that's the next slide. You can see
You're never ahead of Maggie.
our rates for starting on you'll see these on your August. Our meter rates only show up on your August bill. Our rate is going down 13 point, if you round up, 13.1 cents. Eversource's rate is going to be 15.8 cents rounding up. So we're really happy to announce that it's almost a 3 cent, 2.67 cents, almost 3 cents lower than the utilities supply rate.
How did they get that down?
Pardon?
How did they get that down?
How did we
Even
get ours
Eversource,
down?
Or even Eversource, how did they?
It's the timing, the winter, there are risk premiums put in on your winter pricing because of what we've experienced with polar vortex, you've seen what happened in Texas, you get a spike. And electric, and most importantly, this could be a long thing, in the last several years, especially since the start of the war in Ukraine, a lot of our LNG, liquid natural gas, has been going overseas to Europe, driving our price, which is our secondary fuel in New England and ISO New England. Electricity price is driven by combined cycle gas mostly.
Isn't it true now that the United States is the biggest energy
Export,
exporter
yes.
in the world? You keep hearing
That was
anything
the
about
last time I looked, but I would have to fact check that, but it's pretty much so. But again, driving, exports are driving prices up, and the fact that so many, in the winter, you have to provide natural gas to heat homes. That's the priority. So we were relying on LNG to produce electricity. So we were paying European prices, which was driving our supply up.
A question, what's gonna happen to all this electricity that that Eversource and National Grid have to buy from Vineyard Wind for 7 cents a kilowatt hour or whatever it is
What did you
this
say?
year?
How much did you say?
They negotiate 7 cents a kilowatt hour?
Maybe in my dreams, I would add like maybe a 1 or a 2 in front of that, but that will go into the grid. All of that there, so those
But they can
contracts,
resell, I mean, Eversource and National Grid can
it'll be
resell
sold
that.
into the market.
Yeah.
So what the law says on our offshore wind projects, which is why they're backstopped by ratepayers, the utilities have an option to either build them into their basic service, or they will sell them into the market, which is what, from a business perspective, they'll sell it into the market. If the price is above market, everybody will pay for that. If it's below market, everybody will get a credit on that. So that all of that energy, the electrons actually from the first project are going to stay on the Cape. So we're actually getting green electrons. We don't have a contractual relationship, but we're getting green. We are getting green electrons because they're landing here. So anyway, so that's yours.
Do we have a distribution cost to add to these?
I don't have it. No.
But there is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's our total cost?
We're in the
these days?
20-cent range, 25, 26-cent range last time I looked.
25, 26.
Yep. So it kind of, I'll talk about it another, it starts to make the economics behind the meter solar and residential solar. I know it's a sensitive subject around here, but anyway, it starts to make the economics look very good when you look, when you're looking at high electric rates. So I'm going to move into energy efficiency. So I want to give some highlights from what's happening in 2024. As everybody, I'm assuming all of you have had a home energy assessment. I always ask that. Everybody's had their home energy assessment. It's a no cost. We pay for these every month on our electric bill.
How often can you?
Every 2 years,
Two?
every 2 years. But if there was something that you didn't do, meaning you had a home energy assessment and they recommended weatherization or a heat pump, and you just at the time, for whatever reason, didn't pursue it, you can just call us up and start the process sooner. You don't have to wait your 2 years. But that's about the average of what technology and codes, a lot of sometimes building codes have changed significantly. We're seeing this a lot in our low income and income eligible properties. We might have insulated a property 10 years ago, but now with building codes, we're going back and adding additional insulation because codes have changed. So that's where we get the 2 year standard.
I was just asking because we were having this discussion one day and person kept saying, I think it's 3, and I thought
It's
it was
2,
2.
but
But well, I'm really not sure.
It's 2 years. We never, if somebody said, I want a home energy assessment, we will never turn you away. We will look at what we've done and say, is there a need? But it's 2 years is what we recommend.
You keep data on the percentage of Yarmouth.
Pardon?
How do you keep data on the percentage
Yep,
of
I
Yarmouth
was gonna-
households? that
Yes,
have had it
I'll
and
get to
not
that
had
in a second, mass save data, and we also have information on our website, and we send it to Bob Rittenauer, your administrator gets a report quarterly on how many people have participated, how many incentives have been invested, et cetera. So 100% weatherization for income eligible and moderate income customers and renters. Doesn't matter if you own or rent your home. If you need insulation or air sealing, it's at no cost. If you, and 75% of the cost is paid for everybody else out of the fund. Heat pumps, which is what you're seeing on the wall there, that's a mini split. Actually, I think that is my house. Oh, I didn't. Funny, I was like, that looks just like my mini split, and it is. There you go, a home rebate. of $10,000. I switched back before there were that big incentives in 2017. Our house is an old Cape ranch that has electric resistance heat. So I switched to high efficiency cold climate heat pumps and have been incredibly happy with them. Now, if you're going to switch for your home over, there is a $10,000 whole home rebate, or you can do a partial. Some people, for whatever reason, want to leave, do dual systems, use one on the shoulder, just want to use it for air conditioning or dehumidification. That's where it's a partial rebate, and it's per ton. Average rebate there is about $4,500 for a whole home, for a partial whole house heat pump. You can go to the next slide, and one
One
of the things.
quick question again. Your whole house is now heated and cooled by
Heat
heat
pumps.
pumps?
Yep, except for the bathrooms, because it's a ranch, it's not, heat pumps work best in open floor planes unless you have individual cassettes or heads. So we have both bathrooms still use the electric
What are your
resistance.
total energy costs versus before you put heat pumps in, the idea?
I'm not a good candidate because my mother lived with us for the last 10 years of her life and she kept the heat on. It's like me and my husband were short year round. I'm not a good candidate. The analysis is that we've looked at on a traditional bill, switching from oil, propane, or electric resistance to a heat pump will reduce your overall energy burden. Where the economics do not pan out right now is if you heat your home with natural gas, which in Yarmouth, especially in the Mid-Cape area, that's most of our homes are natural gas.
Yeah, National Grid was very smart about 30 years ago. I've got a free gas furnace in my basement.
Yep, so that's,
That was put in by National Grid when they extended gas into our neighborhood in Yarmouthport.
yep,
We've got 5 of them, but I still use a boiler
a boiler.
gas. That's the base.
Then I'll talk a little bit about that, where the Commonwealth is headed, just so that you can keep all this in the back of your mind. Some other things, we have an e-bike grant that is just winding down. This is for income eligible and moderate income customers, where we were offering significant incentives for heat pumps. I think this is not Bike Zone, but our Yarmouth Bike Shop down the road has been an active participant with lots of income eligible e-bikes and rebates for those who were in need. Again, this was a grant from the Commonwealth, from Mass CEC, to offer alternative transportation for those who are economically disadvantaged. We also have our standard rebates. They're on our website for room AC, all Energy Star appliances, dehumidifiers, electric clothes dryers. And then CVO we're winding down at CVO. CVO was a DPU approved demonstration project where we're targeting decarbonizing deed restricted properties. And the deed restriction was for affordability, income eligible, and for affordability, and at no cost to the participant. We came in and we removed the heating system, so we would take out your oil, propane, or electric resistance, put in high efficiency heat pumps, hot water heaters, a solar system to make sure paired with the size of your load. So as we're electrifying the home, we're not increasing your energy burden. And then 25 of the participants, the target is 100, also got batteries for resiliency and for backup. We were originally trying to do everybody with batteries, but two things just to file away. Heat pumps to run, if you have solar on your roof and the grid goes down, you don't have a battery, you just have a lot of expensive glass on your roof because they don't work, because for safety reasons, everything shuts down. So what we were trying to do was to give resilience for those that were the most vulnerable or low and moderate income by installing batteries. But when you have a heat pump, you need 2 batteries. The amount of, I'm not an engineer, man, so excuse me, the amount of juice you need to get the heat pump started, it relies on 2 batteries. And then your solar system, they'll all work in tandem, but we could not keep just 1 battery. So only 25 of our participants. So there are, if any, we sent out information to all the housing authorities, all the town managers. So off the top of my head, I don't recall if anybody from Yarmouth is participating. We have had 84 applicants come through the program since we opened up over a year ago. 54 have been approved and 16 have been fully completed. It is incredibly expensive to decarbonize this housing stock. It's an older housing stock. We are not doing natural gas participants, so you're looking at, sometimes depending upon where the house is located, they could have power lines could be undergrounded a lot on the outer Cape and the Vineyard. So it involves trenching, panel upgrades. But again, for the participants, this was all at no cost. And the reason is, when you look at the data of who's installing solar, who's low and moderate income customers are being left behind. They have not been able to participate in the programs. They pay into the programs just like we all do, but their participation is lower than those that are market rate customers. Can I go to the next slide? So now I'm going to switch to an entirely new program. So this is my first time talking about it publicly. So you coming to the meeting.
Do we need to close the door?
No, it is active and live, and the board's gonna hear about it tomorrow. So lots of federal money has been coming into the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to address climate change, decarbonization, and the Massachusetts Community Climate Bank and the Mass Housing Authority received a significant amount of money to deliver energy efficiency programs and renewable programs that are to complement the energy efficiency programs that we run here through Cape Light Compact. When we saw this RFP, we said, oh my, if we didn't participate, it's going to introduce a new player into the, trying to encourage people to participate in programs and create a lot of confusion. So the compact submitted, I think we saw the RFP on Thursday, submitted our response to the RFP the following Thursday, and we were awarded the grant for 2 years with renewal for 3 to provide what they're calling concierge services, which is basically what the board has been asking staff to evolve to, which ties right into what you were talking about, Bob, is really, really direct one-on-one consultations to, this is a homeowner program because it's a loan program, on what you need to do to decarbonize your home or make it more efficient.
I've had one of those consultations.
Good. So they're getting even deeper, sometimes the presentations that we get to people, they sit there, they look, they're not, and then they want, well, my boiler is this, what do I do? Do I do a part? They have a lot of specific questions. So the Energy Saver Home Loan Program is supposed to assist homeowners to cut their energy use, remove their fossil fuel heating systems, and pair that with renewable energy.
If
This program,
the Energy Committee here wanted to go out and encourage the Yarmouth citizens to participate in this sort of thing, would we be able to get funds from Cape Light Compact to help support that?
no, there are 2 reasons. You would send those people to the Cape Light Compact, which is in your town, located right down the road, to help walk them through, because that's what the grant is for. I'm very cautious, and I'll say this with all due respect, to send out, and this is why my board wanted to train an army of volunteers. Talking about insulating your home versus talking about your heating and cooling system is a very different level of expertise. And for every time I have a volunteer say the right thing, I have 3 volunteers, including some of my board members, say the wrong thing to customers. And we're in a very technical, though I know your background, so I know you would do the right thing. So I'm not necessarily saying you wouldn't, but there's a lot. This is an incredibly complicated, very technical, a lot of liability, because the first time, and this has happened, well, the Yarmouth Energy Committee told me that if I installed a heat pump and removed my oil system, I could heat my house. And I went away, didn't operate my heat pump correctly, and my pipes burst. And now I'm out several $100,000s. And guess who they're going to come after? The town of Yarmouth, this RERA public entity. So that's why.
I wanted to be part of that again.
But you're experienced now.
Been there, done that. That's not to say, does the compact through this have money for marketing, for flyers that we've reviewed for you? Yes, that type of, so it's a no, but yes type of answer. So because it's been a conversation, our board was pushing really hard for volunteers, and we pushed back pretty hard, and eventually we agreed. And so this is funding we've increased our call center and a outreach specialist that will then be augmented by all the CLC staff. This program, if you go to the next slide, is targeting low and moderate income customers. Specifically, those up to 135% of AMI, area median income. And it is a loan, so it is a second mortgage on a home, so you have to own your home. And the income levels are up there. So you can see Barnstable County, Sandy, if you're the only person on your deed and you're retired and your pension is $100,000, you would be eligible because it was $166,000 is what the threshold is. If Bob and Sandy were on there and their pension was $200,000, they would be over the amount because it's $166,000.
Well, what do you do? I'm the executioner of a family trust that has two houses on it, both here on the Cape, when I live on, and I have two nieces who live in there, and the other one was originally my brother.
It has to be who's on the deed. So if the deed, and again, you're asking a good question. I'm just writing myself a note to make sure I get the answer because I'm not familiar, not a lawyer with a trust. But if the trust lists 4 people, it's the income of those 4 people. If the trust just lists 1 person, then it is the income of that because we have to income verify. These funds all flow down from the Department of Energy. So again, on a trust, I'm not familiar with, so Bob, I can't answer that, but I do know that it has to, the person who is listed on the deed has to income qualify, has to be a single family home or up to 2 to 4 units. We have a triple decker, or on the Cape, we have a lot of duplexes. And the most importantly, we have to demonstrate via a model that we've been provided by the feds, 20% energy savings. So go on to the next slide and I'll talk about what's eligible here.
While you're changing slides, again, can I just ask a probably a pretty obvious question, but this is all income based, right? It's not, yes, but do you have stocks or do you have bonds?
This is based on, this is
Okay.
income based, just like all of our energy efficiency programs, and you're not getting into LIHEAP, we're talking about our Cape Light Compact Energy Efficiency, are based on your tax returns, et cetera. Other federal programs are means tested where they're looking at the value of your property. They're looking at other things such as LIHEAP, which is low income heating assistance program. So this is a loan amount range from $10,000 up to $100,000. It is a 20-year, 240-month loan term. The first 18 months are interest only. And then the following 22 months are have 2 interest levels. If you are 60% or below, which is the definition of low income, you have a 0.5%, below 80%. You have a 0.5% interest. If you're between 81 and 135% of AMI, your interest rate is 2 years, still have a 20-year payback. And our participating banks are Cape and Islands, the Cape Cod 5, Bay Coast Savings, and Bristol County Savings Banks. Those are the only 3 eligible banks here on the Cape, the Vineyard, and Nantucket. So you say, what's eligible? So here is a very large list of all of the measures that are eligible. Again, the caveat here is you have to have 20% energy savings. So I can tell you, what are you going to get for energy savings? Sandy wants to put it, Sandy's already weatherized her house. She doesn't need insulation. She doesn't need this, but she wants solar. Sandy can demonstrate, even if you don't heat with electricity, if there is, by installing 5 kW on your roof, if you'll save 20% on your electricity usage, which you should, then you would.
I haven't paid
Then you would
electric bill since a year ago.
This would be a program that you would hit the threshold of 20% energy savings, but Sandy needs a new roof as well, because her roof is will not support, it's at end of life. She's been putting it off. So now she can bundle these 2 things with the loan product. But if Sandy just wanted a new roof, she goes, wow, I can get a new roof. Not eligible because there's no energy savings with that 20%. So where you're gonna see your energy savings are going to be insulation, air sealing, solar, and insulation, air sealing, and heat pumps, decarbonizing your home. That's where you're going to see the energy savings, and then the other measures can be folded in as what, because they're advancing. Someone might say, I want to use this as an EV charging station. That's not going to get it because EVs are going to be increasing your load. So again, you have to balance that with maybe installing PV, or if you've got a huge insulation job, it is a requirement. That's why we're here. That's why I said how complicated it is to walk somebody through here, but we have the staff and the time to help customers figure out which path to go through. You select, they will be contracted, sort of vetted. Most of our solar installers, Katuitt Solar, My Generation, they will be on here, and you will select, you could go out and select your own solar installer or installation contractor, the same thing, and heat pump.
So can you mix and match? You can pick 5 or 6 things there.
As
that
long,
will-
yes, as long as
together
you hit the 20%
with
energy threshold.
Yeah.
So you may want to do
I
tree
mean, I'd
pruning.
like to do shade trees, but that's not gonna get me very.
Right, so exactly, so it has to be packaged with appropriate measures, and again, this is per the federal government guidelines. But again, if you're just looking at, I need solar, but I've got, you've already had them out there, but they've told you you've got 3 trees down, and by the way, it's gonna cost you $7,000 to take those 3 trees down. This can be bundled into into the loan.
And if I want to renovate my 40-year-old kitchen,
You're
get
out
new
of luck.
appliances.
You're out of luck. There's no energy savings. There's no energy savings there, especially for a gas heated home. So that's the Energy Saver Home Loan Program. It is a federal, it is rolled out statewide throughout the Commonwealth. It is just starting. It is a 5-year, as I said, a 5-year program. And our role is to be a concierge to help anyone who's interested, from finding out what's eligible to helping them complete their loan application, and then submitting that to Mass Housing, where then it becomes like, it's like a second mortgage.
Okay, I would love to stay for the question and answer, but unfortunately the town clerk is waiting. So before I leave, let me just say 3 things. Congratulations, Mike. They're in your hands now. Don't run it off the road. The second thing
You know
is,
how they put interim coaches in, you know, I'm an interim.
but it turns out that there's a whole DOER program that might be of interest. They're picking out energy leadership communities. Like that would be a reward for going to the next level of stretch code, kind of like Green Community was the last time. And then my third thing is Amanda gets first pick on the types of pizza to take home because it'll be what her kids eat. But then the rest of them go home with all of you. I will die if I come up here at like, oh God, whenever we get out of these meetings, 9:30 or something, and find uneaten pizza. So it can't be wasted, okay?
Got it.
Could
I'll
we
see you
close
tomorrow.
it?
Okay, see you tomorrow. Yep.
2 messages.
I mean, you're
Okay,
getting installed right now, right away.
right away. Yep.
Can we break and go to that and then
Sure.
close the door and come back?
Sure, sure. I don't
Oh,
mind. I'll wait.
I think.
You don't have to wait,
I
Maggie.
think it goes right into an executive session
Oh.
after that.
Yeah,
And
so
then
we
it
won't
goes,
be down there long.
no, it
Oh.
goes into an executive
I
session.
mean, we
that
can
keeps
see
me-
you get installed,
Can we-
sworn in.
Oh,
or
you
whatever.
mean you all run down and see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
my main reason for not doing a hybrid meeting.
Well, I'm
And I'll
really
finish when we
touched,
come back.
guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Or if you want to go, we
No,
can
I'll
just read
finish.
them.
We're all here to
What I'm working on,
Cool.
developing fusion energy startup, new startup.
Good for you.
Been at it almost a year and a half.
That's why he's interim. He works too much.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't get your copy, did I?
No, you got
That's
that.
like that, and there's some notes on the back. of
Yes,
some of
those,
these pages.
that's my internal one. I forgot to take those off,
You want
but
it?
it's not on this one. Not on the
Okay.
Zoom version.
You don't mind if I have it?
So that's a list that we went over of all of the eligible improvements. And again, the caveat is an income threshold for criteria, and there has to be 20% energy savings between all of the bundled measures that are listed there. Any questions on what's there? If not, I just want to go on to the next. So where are we headed in the Cape Light Compact world and in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where we are transitioning from just energy efficiency, saving kilowatt hours, saving therms, to decarbonization. And the next 3-year plan, which is what we filed our draft on April 30th with the state, and we'll officially file with the department on November 1st. We are moving from home energy assessments to decarbonization assessments, encouraging customers to replace their existing fossil fuel heating systems with high efficiency heat pumps as we electrify the grid. Goes to your point about bringing in offshore wind. Someday, potentially a high transmission from Canadian Hydro. Those are all part of the Commonwealth's plan to electrify and green up and decarbonize how we produce electricity in the Commonwealth. As required by the Climate Act of 2022, fossil fuel equipment rebates, including gas, oil, and propane furnaces, are being phased out. You will no longer be eligible to submit for rebates. And the last application must be submitted. So if you're in the process, or if you've had one and you've been sitting on it, everything must be submitted to the Cape Light Compact by September 30th. And they will no longer be able to finance a new fossil fuel heating system with the heat pump. The next slide talks. Now I'm going to just talk briefly again about where are we going for 25, 2027. So 3 goals statewide. Again, been a shift with the Climate Act. These are no longer Cape Light Compact goals. We are required to pursue and submit a statewide plan, and the state goals are decarbonization, equity, and customer experience. And this ties very nicely with the Compact's grant about providing customer service. It's what the board has wanted for us staff to evolve to for several months. Is to make sure that if a customer has a question, we can walk them through and provide them the information that they need on their decarbonization journey, wherever they are in that slide. For small businesses, again, we introduced insulation, air sealing for small businesses, which was new this year. We are expanding renters and landlord offerings, and I have a slide that'll walk you through, as well as prioritizing community-based organizations. We were the first in the Commonwealth to offer a nonprofit high incentive offering targeted towards, we have a lot of nonprofits on the Cape, religious affiliated, arts, historical. So this is now a statewide offering. They modeled it off of what we developed. The board actually brought this to staff. We will also continue our Main Street events and a community first partnership. Want to go to the next one? So what are the statewide offers? Building on the state's commitment to equity. You will see, again, if you are a low income owner or renter, meaning you're on the R2 discount rate, which is going to be 60% or below of state area or median income, you're eligible for 100% weatherization, barrier mitigation. There's barrier mitigation. It could be vermiculite. You could have knob and tube wiring, things that are prevented moving forward will now be covered 100%, as well as electrifying your home, either partial for income eligible, either partial or whole home. Moderate income customers will be going, again, we're talking about 25 forward, who go down the turnkey path, meaning you don't choose South Shore Heating and Plumbing. We have vetted the entire process for you, and you will just be handed, we will route you through vendors that have been approved, we have under contract and are required to maintain certain levels of insurance and customer service protocols. For moderate income, itself, we're doing self-attestation. Income verification for some is a barrier, so statewide, you can say, I'm a moderate income customer, and you just attest to that, and you'll get 100% weatherization. If you want to move to the next step, which is barrier mitigation and or electrification, you will have to provide documentation. For us, it's simply filling out our income verification form, sending us either your W-2s if you're still working, or a copy of your tax returns that shows your income. Looking at your income, we're not looking at your assets. And you would be eligible for, so again, moderate income customers will be eligible for 100% coverage for decarbonizing their home. If you decide that you want to do the rebate pathway, you would be eligible for the standard rebate for up to $16,000 for a mini split air source heat pump, or $25,000 for a ground source heat pump. Market rate customers, you can see on the right, get 100% if you rent, 75% insulation, as well as barrier mitigation will be capped. It's only going to be $5,000 a unit as opposed to 100%. And then we have our standard $10,000 whole home rebate, or $2,000 per condenser, which is going to be your outside unit. Again, focus statewide is on low and moderate income and renters, those that have not participated in programs. Our enhanced customer service, as I said, we're offering assistance with your loans, depending upon which program you're going down, home energy decarbonizations. We're going to make sure that you go down the right pathway for your home. What's not on here, I will just talk about it very briefly because it's not signed and official, but the compact applied for a USDA Rural Utility Service, RUS loan, solar loan program for anyone who is above 135% of moderate income. And that will be low interest. Right now, it's below 3%. So it's for a market rate customer. It's a 10-year loan. The Cape Cod 5 is servicing the loan. You go out and find your own solar installer. We have a Self-Reliance is the consulting firm that will be vetting, making sure that it's a legitimate solar proposal and it meets the standards of the USDA. So you will have an option, even if you're not income eligible, but want to pursue a solar loan, to pursue that through Cape Cod 5. We still have, it's taken us, we started this process in 2020 with USDA. We just executed all of the loan documents. We still have one more hurdle. We have to get their final approval on and everything. So I didn't include it on the slide, but there's a lot of options. So you can see how complicated it has now become. And what our role here on the Cape and for the Vineyard is to make sure that if a customer has a question, we can help them navigate the many programs that are going to be available so that they end up in the best program that meets their income needs and their personal situation. So the last couple of slides to talk about straight workforce development. Just want to let you know that you, as all of us as ratepayers, are funding $24 million statewide to Mass CEC to strengthen and diversify our workforce. We talked about this earlier. We're all sitting around the room as we're getting older. We need to make sure that our tech schools and our community college are training the next generation of workforce so that we can meet all of our climate goals.
What do you mean by the workforce? Who is that?
A workforce diversity, so tech schools, making sure that they have HVAC programs and all those HVAC programs connected to Mass Save, so that South Shore Heating and Cooling can find technicians that are trained and capable of installing and servicing.
Oh, so, I mean, it's not just your employees,
No,
or state employees.
No, this
it's
is-
the private company.
yes, so we are required by the Climate Act to take our energy efficiency funds statewide and provide them. We're giving them 12 million in 2024, and then in 2025 forward, it'll be $24 million. And they are required to train the workforce. And you can see it, they've got in New Bedford, they've got a site for wind turbines and training. So it's soup to nuts in the climate world.
So the two tech schools on the Cape will be developing programs?
Yep. They're
They
working,
have a-
we did a
And
Cape Lake Compact,
overseas?
a training at the Harwich Tech School last year, and we've got one right now that several of the other utilities partners were at the Bourne Tech School.
Does MMA qualify as being on the Cape?
Yeah, the Maritime Academy is within that, and they have an excellent facilities maintenance program. Actually, I have one of their junior interns with us for the next month and a half. So Mass Save Data has a ton of information about what happens in Yarmouth, what happens in the Commonwealth. If you haven't, it's a little overwhelming, the first thing from it, even for me, but a lot of information is already out there on the website. So I encourage you just to poke around. If you ever have any questions, you can always ask. But there is a lot of publicly available information about energy efficiency programs, carbon reduction savings that is out there.
Will be segmented by Yarmouth,
Pardon?
segmented by Yarmouth, by
Mhm.
town.
By town, and we're getting to the point where it's gonna be by zip code for. And then the last two slides, just talk about some of our marketing events, what we're trying to do. Again, we are really struggling. I think this is an issue statewide, with preaching to the choir. When you have the same events and I see the same people showing up at the same events, how do we reach those that haven't participated, that are working, get home from work at 5, get home, make dinner, have kids activities, that have not participated, don't have the time. So the marketing of the next 3-year plan can't look at like the marketing that we've done for the last 20 years. Because as Bob, you said, nobody's coming because we've already reached them. But there are, the data supports, there are a lot of people who haven't participated. And there will be a clean heat standard out there that is going to put a tax, I don't care if they're gonna call it a tax, it's still a tax on your fossil fuels, on oil and on propane, on a natural gas. And again, that is to lower the price of electricity compared to natural gas. So that is what the state, again, all part of the Climate Act. Not everybody looks at me like I do it like it's my idea. But that is what's happening. Those are active DPU dockets that they're examining, and DOR is discussing a clean heat standard. So how it works out, what it looks like, that's what they're working on. But that is where the Commonwealth, in order to meet their 2050 goals, that's the direction that they have to head in.
I must admit, I can't get away from the compact when I'm on social media.
That's good.
The obstacle that
They got caught.
is the elephant in the room is the expense of the sewer project that Yarmouth is gonna go through here in the next, it's already started, but in the next couple of years, it's gonna affect the residential people.
Yes.
Okay, and the cost of that, the estimate I got was about $27,000.
House.
That's gonna cost
For the hookup?
the residents. Okay, and it's great, you got all these low interest loans for all these programs. But there is a limit to how many loans anybody can can manage. Especially in Yarmouth, where I don't know what the percentage of,
Yarmouth has a high percentage of low and moderate income customers, so a lot of the things I just talked about are going to be at no cost.
and that may be helpful, okay, but the thing is, you're gonna deal with the reluctance of people to wanna have so many projects going at once.
Yes.
I mean, there's just,
How many of
it's-
us are 60-year-olds or as well? I mean,
Yep.
those people have just tuned out.
And take it from somebody that is going through that right now with the Solar Wolf deal. That is taking forever, and I've been in arbitration now for over 90 days. Okay, so they're not even adhering to their own commitment to have it done in 90 days. And then to turn around and I'm at this point where I'm not even considering solar panels I'm gonna take my money if I get it back and use it for what I need it for. It's not to say that I won't consider a solar panel plan. If it's offered right and priced right,
I understand, have you been burned?
you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know. Once burned, shame on you, twice burned, shame on me,
Yes.
you know, and that's where I'm at personally. You know, I see the benefit of it, I support it. Okay, but I also have to look at, I got this sewer project that's staring me in the face and it's gonna have to be done. I'm fortunate on one aspect, based on what the town proposed, okay, we're like the seventh step in the process. Okay, but, okay, they're also working a lot quicker than I anticipated. I mean, I'm amazed at what they've already done as far as I'm 28, okay, and I figured that would be the bigger obstacle, but they still got a lot of other things they gotta put in place, but I know talking with other people, that, I don't know where I'm gonna get the money for that. And I mean, yeah, okay, it's a low interest loan or whatever, but still.
Isn't
Okay,
it amortized over a certain number of years?
I think the town said that it would be 30 years. But it was still not 100% official at that point.
There's a
That
lot
was-
of good information on the town website and it talks about, you know, how many years per phase and it's about 5 years. in a
Is it about
phase.
5 out, you know?
5 years till everybody's
Phase-
touched.
No, 5 years a phase, yeah, so you gotta work through, we're doing phase 1 now, which is Route 28. That work will be done by 2026 and continuing on.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's only half the part of it is what the town does. It's the cost I think you're talking about is the hookup.
yeah,
To the
that
system.
was the estimate, and trust me, okay, I am not a mathematician. But based on the information that they gave at the meeting, it was pretty easy to calculate it out. The unknown is, of course, who's gonna do it, okay? I don't need another Solar Wolf person trying to install my sewer system, you know? And Mike, you certainly had your headaches with all the problems of that. And I don't see the town volunteering to say, okay, we can make sure that these people here are gonna do the hookups, because that last part of it is on the resident.
Well, I would hope the town learned from Solarize, and if they get people in here to put in these sewer systems, that they're gonna have them sign a bond. So there'll be a bond available, should they go belly up.
Do you have bonds for yours?
Pardon?
Do you have bonding on your contractors?
Depends upon the contract, like a Rise Engineering, our lead vendor, but we have. But he hates our contracts because they're very, very tight and have very, very high thresholds for. Plus they get looked at by every 21 town lawyers. So I don't know. So yes, but it depends upon what the work is for. Now, on these contracts, will they have to be bonded? It's a good, I'm gonna ask that with the question. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing. I know that that the contractors to be eligible for the Energy Saver Home Loan Program, there are 2 tiers and they have to be qualified. And I know they have to have certain thresholds of insurance, auto insurance, liability, public, but I did not see a bond.
Cause that's what
On that.
messed us up on Solar Wolf was the bonding. I
And
mean,
again,
that RFP should have gone out with the bonding for the amount of money that it was for, and I was really shocked under procurement, why they wouldn't have done it. But, yeah,
we're not procuring the vendors, so the vendors. are
well, Mass
qualified.
EC.
Yeah, that, they should have had a bond.
They should have had a bond.
But on
So
this one,
whole thing
yeah.
with Solar Wolf should have never happened. Cause,
And, I don't want to talk about Massey, never mind.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Not in a recording
Not on the
meeting.
recording, but anyways,
So
so.
any other questions for me on what we just went over?
Are you still giving the rebates on the weed whackers?
Yes, mhm.
Yeah,
If they're
I was shocked.
on the electric, yes,
I was shocked when I bought my Biobi and Home Depot said, oh, you know, there's a rebate on that.
Yep.
I was, Huh?
Yeah, we
Uh,
actually have a nice rebate now. We're starting to, for the large contractor lawnmowers to
Oh, yeah?
electrify and for some of the town equipment too.
One question. What would you think would be the best thing that an energy committee within the town of Yarmouth could do to support your efforts here and get the Yarmouth people to participate?
I think what we need the most help with is identifying venues to talk to people about what's available to them. And it's
Meet and greets?
meet and greets, Girl Scout, Cub Scouts, PTAs, teacher meetings. It's not we're having a climate event. We're gonna have a climate talk, because everybody that comes to the climate event has participated either 100% or they have done something. It is, we need to come to meet them on their terms. Where do we meet them at the soccer field when they're all there watching their kids? Do we have a table on the side? How many people have gone to a soccer game and sat there freezing while you're waiting for kids for football or pick your sport? But do we do that so that there's something for them to do and you talk one-on-one about, did you know that, did you have a home energy, you're eligible for this? It's that type of thoughtful, and what works maybe in Yarmouth is definitely not going to work in Chatham when you've got a population that is only very small, and then a second homeowners. How do we reach the very wealthy or the second homeowners? How do you reach your contractors? That is, I talk about workforce development. You have a HVAC generation that don't like heat pumps. Why don't they like heat pumps? Because they were trained on boilers and furnace, and they know their stuff. Heat pumps are new technology and they're trickier, and people will call you back and they don't. So there's a lot. I sometimes shake my head and said, we're doomed. I feel like Charlie Brown, we're never going to hit our 2050 goals. And then you have something that switches you around. But we have a lot of work to do. And so that's the biggest, is finding venues that are unique to our community. I have a neighborhood Thursday, I work, so most of my neighbors are retired where I live in Pheasant Cove Circle, but they have a neighborhood group that meets once a week on Thursdays. I should go talk to them, and they're out there. There are different venues that are out there.
I would think the lowest hanging fruit would be to get a hold of the low income people that would basically have everything 100% paid for. So there's no money out of pocket. We're not at risk.
And we've served a lot of R2 customers. But again, where are they going? Are they going to the food pantry? If they're going to the food pantry, is there information about the Cape Light Compact there? The chambers,
The bad part about it is that the low income, when they see the pamphlets, they figure it's above anything that they can do. So it's to try to encourage them that they can. And I'm one of them that I got involved with the energy committee, and I was able to put my heat pumps in and my new boiler. It was gas, but that's what was there before, and I did it. I got my loan, and as a single person, I was able to do all that. And then with Solarize came through, I was able to get my solar panels, and I was one of the fortunate ones that I had the panels up when they went under. So, but they were.
I didn't have anything.
I know, but they were up
I had a
there
nice
for a year.
contract, that was it.
They were up there for a year before I had them
Hooked
connected.
up,
And
yeah.
then I got that. I did not get the battery. I didn't end up getting the battery, which was part of my savings in my calculations, but it's still, I don't.
You can
have-
finance the battery through the heat loan.
Yep.
Through
I
a
can
zero
do
interest
my
heat
new
loan.
windows, So.
So that would be my biggest ask. It doesn't have to be like, I need 10 venues. To me, a success is one venue where we've reached people in need. So housing authorities, so that would be my ask, is a good connection, a good meeting, so that, we pay for these programs every time you pay your electric and gas bill. That's our money, and we want to make sure that we reinvest those funds in our homes. So thank you for having me and listening to me. It was nice to
Always
see everybody.
Always nice to have you.
Yes.
Wealth of information.
Thank you.
You have to send me that about South Shore and I'll talk to Dan.
I'm gonna help put together on my, of course, I've had another HVAC person working on it that wasn't South Shore because I was so angry.
Yep,
When I
that's
found
okay.
out, so he has not come and filled up my Freon each year that it's happened, but it's been since day one.
All right,
And that was the first repair that he did.
which of course we don't leak in Freon to which to climate heat pumps to help climate change and everything.
Was this Wayne Enos?
Thank you.
Amanda,
Wayne Enos?
what's the?
No, it's
That was the other side.
The other South Shore, okay.
Text up there.
Wayne
Just
did my
their captions.
Fizitzo.
Whose is it?
Observatory at the high
I mean,
school.
I
Okay.
didn't see a single mistake there. It's unbelievable.
Oh, I don't know, it's computer
I
generated.
mean, is it part of artificial intelligence now?
I'm sure it's part of Zoom. So we pay for it, town.
What software does it come through?
Zoom,
Zoom?
Yeah.
It's just-
Zoom is the meeting
You see
platform.
the text at the bottom there?
Yeah, Zoom does
She
that
can-
for anybody.
She can hide that, so it's not showing at the
But-
meeting.
Have you used it? I mean, I've never used it on Zoom, but
No, there's a button.
whatever ones I've seen that are
Yeah, there's a
basically
button.
transcribing audio.
I'm in a
Spoken.
bi-weekly,
That's
Has
how
lots
it
of
was.
mistakes.
I'm in a.
That didn't have
bi-week-
any mistakes at
Yeah.
all.
I'm in a bi-weekly Zoom with some old college mates and one is hard of hearing.
Yeah,
And so apparently there's just a button you push or something you toggle
It's captioning.
and the captioning goes on. I think it right,
And it
might
has
be right.
AI notes too, so you can
Does it?
actually do note taking. So there's another workspace that they can
so
do.
is this, I mean,
Yeah, transcribing.
during the pandemic, when the pandemic first started, I bet they didn't have that then, did they, that capability?
We've been using it since day one
Since
when
then?
I was, that's how
And
he
it-
gets his notes are.
And it was as,
Get the notes.
it was as good as that, accurate as that?
I know.
No,
The software
Yeah.
has
Okay,
improved.
that's what it
I mean,
is.
I go way back to Dragon naturally, when I did my closed captioning that I was studying for. And let me tell you, it never understood what I was saying. I was at a church doing the closed captioning, and what came up on the screen, I almost like freaked out.
And it was expensive too.
Yes.
So. I'm supposed to close the meeting here now? Seriously, Dave, are you interested in becoming a member of the Energy Committee?
I'll think about it. It's been interesting. I didn't know what to expect, okay? Like I said, I know Joyce a little bit and, you know,
Now you know all of us.
you know, for me, the obstacle is to be on the energy committee and I'm dead set against getting the solar panels because of my experience, you know,
That's quite all right. I'm dead set against it too. I didn't get them,
you know.
mainly because Old Kings Highway, when we first got into this, before we got a plug on the committee. So,
But I'll think it over. Like this is,
okay,
you know, part of, you know, I enjoyed the education part. Part of my background is like, I'm a lift truck mechanic. I work for Golub Corporation in Schenectady, okay, which was a grocery distribution for Price Chopper or Market 32 markets.
Schenectady GE Town.
Yeah, right, in a GE town. But I also was a member of on the board of their credit union. And so I got a very good financial education being a part of that, as well as a part of fraud and the issues that happen as far as fraud goes. So I enjoyed that, you know, I enjoyed the education. I contributed a little here and there. The same even here, I'm not sure what I can add to the table, but I can be the old grouchy senior citizen that can push back a little bit if I need to, you know. Open-minded enough to listen, though.
We'd like to have you.
I appreciate that. you know.
First Tuesday
Second,
of the month at 5 o'clock.
I also gotta talk to the wife about it too.
On Zoom, if you don't want to come here to,
Well,
I know, because we're not gonna have Joyce, we're not gonna have pizza anymore.
You gave away the scholarship funds, we can't use that. All right, I was kind of serious about being interim here. Because
Oh, you want to be permanent? Is that?
no, I'm working, I got called out of retirement I retired officially in 2010. And then just got back working last year. I did
Yeah, he's working on
Consulting for a while.
decarbonizing the whole world.
That's right. Fusion Energy, a startup to develop fusion energy. Which, of course, if the governor's goals are for 2050 and our goal is mid-2030s to have this up and running, he won't have to worry about his goals anymore. The whole world won't have to. So, okay. At any rate, that's where I'm at. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just an interim. Somebody needs to, I guess, set the dates and get the emails out to inform everybody of what's going on, try to establish an agenda. One thing, that's been on my plate has been to relook at the annual operating plan that I put together back in 2021, I believe. And actually, I'm going to take Maggie's notes here and look at converting what we were thinking of doing back then to maybe what we should do now. Lessons learned about, we don't want to stick our necks out there and tell somebody to go buy something. For sure.
Well, in fact, our participation in the Solarize program was probably Rich Bienvenu who was the,
In the green community.
it was during that period when the committee had already turned down not participating. I mean, we were aware of it and we never felt that it.
Well, I think you've never got anybody that would step up to be coach. So,
Exactly.
until
But
Joyce-
Rich and Dan Knapek, was an energy guy as well, they pushed it and
And that's when we followed through.
yeah, and we were the last town in the Commonwealth to do it. That's all rice program.
Well, Joyce and I spent a lot of time downstairs in the room downstairs in December, I think, putting together the proposal
Yeah.
and to get that in, and just in the nick of time. Too bad we late. Okay,
Worst part for me was I waited almost to the end of the whole program. Okay, and then finally bought into it. So, well, you know what? I didn't hear any negative part about the vendor. Okay, so, I thought, okay. And of course, 3 months later, okay, 5 months later, I get the notice that they're out of business.
but the people that are going to get their systems installed, let's say it'll be about 2 years late, they're still getting one heck of a price on it.
Yes, that's,
So,
They're losing some of the incentives, and the smart pay has definitely gone down. What I was anticipating in the smart pay incentives is definitely not as, I'm a single person in the house, so it's only me, and I don't live there all winter, so like my energy savings is minimal. However, I haven't had a bill, and I run my heat pumps and my AC well, the heat pumps not so much, but the AC all summer, and then my gas is turned way off. It's
Are
50,
are you selling much electricity to Eversource?
yes. I think.
you get a check back from them or just a credit?
Just a credit.
Just
think I
credit,
got
so you build up
1,500.
credit,
I
and you
think
can
I got
never tap
1,500.
into that.
I haven't got there yet.
I mean, some people.
You can
get
roll it over
checks.
to another property if you have multiple properties that are run by Eversource, but
Because, I mean, I've heard of some people that get checks.
they initially did that and they stopped.
They stopped it.
So it's all.
So now
the
it's
net
all
credits.
just credit.
Yeah, net credits.
So,
But you can go from property to,
Okay. Does anybody have any announcements or suggestions for future agenda items? If not, I'll ask for an adjournment till Tuesday, July 2nd at 4:30 PM.
I so move that
So
we
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.
Thank you.